Picture this: Tehran, the 1970s. A bustling metropolis with wide boulevards, luxury cars, and a vibrant nightlife. Women in miniskirts walk alongside men in tailored suits, enjoying modern cinemas and universities. This wasn't a European capital, but Iran, a nation rapidly transforming under the ambitious vision of its monarch, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. For decades, Iran was not just an ally to the United States, it was a cornerstone of American foreign policy in the Middle East, a beacon of secular progress. But beneath this glittering facade, powerful currents of discontent were beginning to swirl, destined to erupt. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi inherited the peacock throne in 1941, during the tumultuous years of World War II. Initially, his power was fragile, overshadowed by British and Soviet influence. However, by the 1950s, with the crucial backing of the United States, particularly after the 1953 coup that cemented his authority, the Shah began to consolidate his rule. Iran, strategically vital due to its vast oil reserves and shared border with the Soviet Union, became a critical pawn in the Cold War chess game. The US saw the Shah as a bulwark against communism and a reliable partner in a volatile region. For nearly 3 decades, the bond between the United States and Iran under the Shah grew exceptionally strong. American presidents from Eisenhower to Carter viewed the Shah as an indispensable friend, a leader committed to Western values and stability. Billions of dollars in military aid flowed into Iran, transforming its armed forces into one of the most powerful in the region. The Shah, in turn, supported U.S. initiatives, provided intelligence, and became a dependable supplier of oil. This alliance was built on shared strategic interests, but it also masked a growing disconnect with the Iranian populace. In the early 1960s, the Shah launched the White Revolution, a sweeping series of reforms designed to modernize Iran and distribute wealth. This program included land reform, giving land to millions of peasants, and extending suffrage to women. It also focused on literacy campaigns and nationalizing forests and pastures. The Shah presented these reforms as progressive steps towards a more equitable and advanced society, positioning Iran as a leader in the developing world. Internationally, it garnered praise, but domestically, its execution sowed the seeds of deep resentment among various segments of society. Hand in hand with modernization came a fervent drive towards secularization and Western cultural adoption. Universities expanded, Western fashion became common in urban centers, and religious institutions saw their influence wane. For the Shah, this was essential for progress, shedding what he viewed as antiquated traditions. However, for a significant portion of the population, particularly in rural areas and among the traditional clergy, this rapid Westernization was an assault on their identity, faith, and cultural values. It created a profound cultural chasm between the Shah's government and the religious masses. Despite Iran's immense oil wealth, which generated vast revenues for the state, the White Revolution's promise of economic equity remained largely unfulfilled. While urban elites thrived, benefiting from government contracts and Western investments, the economic benefits rarely trickled down to the vast majority of Iranians. Rapid industrialization led to inflation, unemployment, and a massive influx of rural poor into overcrowded cities, exacerbating existing social inequalities. This widespread economic discontent, a direct result of the uneven distribution of prosperity, became a fertile ground for anti-government sentiment. To maintain his grip on power and push through his modernization agenda, the Shah resorted to increasingly repressive measures. His secret police, Savak, became notorious for arbitrary arrests, torture, and the suppression of all forms of political dissent. Students, intellectuals, religious leaders, and political activists faced brutal crackdown. While the Shah aimed for stability, this iron fist approach alienated vast segments of the population, transforming simmering discontent into deep-seated hatred and fear. The freedom and prosperity promoted by the Shah felt hollow under the shadow of state brutality. Amidst the Shah's secular push and political repression, a powerful alternative voice began to resonate across Iran, that of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. Exiled since the mid-1960s for his outspoken criticism of the Shah's reforms and U.S. influence, Khomeini's message reached millions through cassette tapes and sermons smuggled into the country. He articulated the widespread cultural discontent, presenting the Shah's Westernization as an anti-Islamic imposition and promising a return to religious values and social justice. Khomeini offered a potent blend of spiritual guidance and political rebellion, turning religious faith into a powerful revolutionary force. By the late 1970s, Iran was a nation of stark contrasts. On one side stood the Shah's vision, a rapidly modernizing, secular, Western-aligned state, symbolized by grand construction projects, burgeoning universities, and a cosmopolitan urban elite. On the other was the reality for the majority: entrenched poverty, cultural alienation, and deep religious devotion, often centered in traditional neighborhoods and rural communities. This divide wasn't just economic or social, it was a fundamental clash of worldviews, meticulously ignored by the Shah and his Western allies, but keenly felt by ordinary Iranians. Throughout 1977 and 1978, the discontent reached a boiling point. Small protests escalated into massive demonstrations across major cities. Students, shopkeepers, oil workers, and religious scholars joined forces, their grievances converging into a powerful demand for change. The Shah's attempts to quell the unrest with force, including the infamous Black Friday massacre in September 1978, only fueled the revolutionary fervor. Each act of repression strengthened the resolve of the protesters and solidified Khomeini's position as the movement's undisputed leader, even from exile. By late 1978, the Shah's authority had crumbled. His once loyal military was fractured, and his Western allies, including the United States, began to distance themselves, urging reforms that were too little, too late. Facing a revolution he could no longer control and battling a debilitating illness, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi made the agonizing decision to leave Iran. On January 16, 1979, the Shah departed Tehran, ostensibly for a vacation. His departure, however, signaled the end of monarchical rule in Iran, an institution that had stood for 2,500 years. Just weeks after the Shah's departure, the revolutionary tide surged higher. On February 1, 1979, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini returned to Iran after 15 years in exile. His plane touched down to a rapturous welcome from millions of Iranians who flooded the streets of Tehran, hailing him as a spiritual savior and the true leader of the nation. This was no mere political homecoming, it was a deeply symbolic moment, signifying the triumph of popular will, religious identity, and the end of the Pahlavi dynasty's Western-backed secular rule. A new era for Iran was dawning. The return of Khomeini rapidly consolidated the revolution. The Shah's government quickly collapsed, and a new Islamic Republic was declared. The ensuing months saw radical transformations across all aspects of Iranian society. Islamic laws were swiftly implemented, Western cultural influences were purged, and the clergy assumed dominant political power. This wasn't just a change of leadership, it was a fundamental ideological shift, rejecting the Shah's Western-oriented modernization in favor of a theocratic system. The world watched in disbelief as an ancient civilization charted an entirely new, religiously guided course. The storming of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran on November 4, 1979, marked the definitive rupture in U.S.-Iran relations. Iranian students, enraged by the Shah's admission to the U.S. for cancer treatment, perceived it as a plot to restore him to power. They seized the embassy, taking 52 American diplomats and citizens hostage for 444 days. This act was a direct challenge to American power and a symbolic rejection of decades of U.S. influence. It transformed a close, if complicated, friendship into a bitter, enduring enmity, the repercussions of which are still felt today. The events of 1979 irrevocably altered the geopolitical landscape. Iran, once America's steadfast ally, became its staunchest adversary. The decades-long relationship built on mutual strategic interests, oil, and Cold War anxieties dissolved in a maelstrom of revolutionary fervor and anti-Western sentiment. The theocratic government of Iran adopted an explicitly anti-American stance, branding the U.S. as the Great Satan. This transformation profoundly reshaped Middle Eastern politics, creating enduring tensions that continue to define international relations even in the 21st century. The story of Iran before 1979 is a powerful lesson in the complexities of modernization, identity, and foreign policy. The Shah's ambitious, albeit repressive, drive to westernize and secularize, while bringing superficial progress, ultimately failed to address the deep economic and cultural grievances of his people. The revolution was not merely a political upheaval, it was a profound assertion of national and religious identity against perceived foreign domination. The subsequent transformation of Iran into a theocratic state and its animosity towards the U.S. stands as a testament to the unforeseen consequences of rapid, top-down change.